Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today, I'm here with my good friend, Janette. Welcome to the showcase. Janette, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Yes, I was super excited for this. I know as I go into a bar right now, I was looking for someone in her spectrum, man. What do you know? Here we are today. So thank you again, Janette. I'm super, super excited for this. And I hope you as an audience will too as well.
I am, and we connected through Happy Neighborhood Project. So
Shout out to Happy
we
Neighborhood.
love to be happy.
So just for you to get to know Janette a little bit, she is a truth and detection expert with a master's in clinical psychology, founder and CEO of Accurate Body Language. Accurate body language is the key to crack the code, unlock the vault of nonverbal communication, and reveal the secrets of human interaction. With over 20 years of corporate business, marketing research, advertising, and strategic brand positioning, and clinical psychology experience, Janette specializes in understanding the complexities of human behavior, interpersonal relationships, verbal and nonverbal body language communication. Ooh, that's a lot. It's a lot of stuff we can go into, which is very exciting. How
And,
did you get into the, sorry, go ahead.
and it's applicable to every single interaction that we have and every relationship we have. So body language and understanding what's being conveyed in the body, Garrett, is important to get at the root of what's being conveyed.
How did you get into truth and detection? I'm pretty sure as a kid you were like, hey mom, dad, I'm gonna be a truth and detection expert when I grow up.
Well, with my background in psychology, I always want to know how people relate to one another and what's really being communicated so that we can connect better, and also to find out when there's an issue and when there's distress so that we can navigate through that dialogue and build better relationships and rapport and connection.
That's so funny. When in college, like a lot of people were saying like, man, psychology is like the stupidest major to get because you never use it. When you're really out into a more business professional setting, it's like, wow, psychology is like everything. It's like I wish I took more psychology in college.
Exactly. Psychology is everything because everything we do regarding marketing and sales have to do with connecting with somebody else so that we understand their pain points and their needs and their wants so that we can address their issues and be able to connect and assist them and solve their problems.
Just shout out to all the psychology majors out there, or if you ever had one. What is your definition of leadership?
Leadership, true leadership, is when you can inspire and ignite somebody else's motivation and passion to bring them up to achieve what they want to achieve. That's what true leadership is. It's to ignite the inner passion and the essence of somebody else to lift themselves up and lead and go forward for the betterment of the world.
Wow, that was pretty in depth. I really loved how you mentioned passion. When people think of leadership, they don't only mention passion, they usually mention like goals or some other version of influence, but yours is passion. And I think that's
Mhm.
so important when you lead because you can't lead without passion.
That's right. And true leadership is not about following them, but it's about getting that inner spirit to want to achieve more for themselves. So that's what true leadership is, in my opinion.
In your experience, what are some common leadership mistakes?
Ineffective leaders use negative forces for their own agenda, and they use it's a misnomer for them to say leadership when they try to force somebody or use negative forces to do something that isn't for the betterment of everybody. So another leadership mistake is they don't learn from their mistakes. They keep repeating their mistakes, or they don't have a support team that gives them a diverse idea to expand beyond what they think. And as I mentioned, don't delegate. And Another common leadership mistake is that they aren't motivated to uplift others for the overall good.
And those are definitely very common. I've heard from other interviewees as well. I mean, it's crazy how many people are, I guess, you call manipulative in that kind of sense.
Yes.
Because they're very selfish, and it's so obvious when people are very selfish. It's like, I have to listen to this person.
Yes. Being with effective leaders, you should feel rejuvenated and vitalized and want to do more than what's being asked. Ineffective leaders make you feel worse about yourself, and then that's truly not leadership.
I mean, I definitely agree. I know what you're saying is from head to toes, the body always shows the truth. Can you explain that?
Yes. What that means, Garrett, is we have 5 senses, and our senses are absorbing information from the environment all the time. And it brings the sensory information to our brain, and our brain interprets this. And it's so fast. The brain then sends the information to our nervous systems to react. We have to react so fast in order to survive, right? If we step near a snake, we have to be so fast to react. That's why from head to toes, the body always shows the truth. The body is always showing what is true. Lies take a certain part of the brain and more time to know the truth, then spend time to think about how do I want to spin it or lie about it, and then execute. So that takes more time than what the body will actually show. That's why, Garrett, if you are interacting with somebody and they're saying one thing, but their body indicates something else, what are you going to believe? The words or the body? Believe the body, because the body is faster and the body knows the truth and it shows the truth.
I like that. What are some common body language behaviors that someone makes in an interview when they're lying?
Oh, okay. So you always want to pay attention to the other person and see exactly what they're doing. All of your senses need to be focused in on that person. So some tips or some things that they may be lying about is you're noticing my blink rate. And then if you're asking me a trigger question that I'm uncomfortable with, then you will notice a change in the blink rate. Okay, it might be faster. More times than not, it's faster. But if I'm a domineering or an aggressive person or a psychopath, I may blink less because I'm giving you the stink eye and trying to coerce you to make sure that you do my bidding. So I'm laser focused and staring at you, so my blink rate will be less. It's all tailored to the specific person. The other thing is self-touch. You know, if you're interviewing somebody and they're hugging themselves, that is an indication that they may be feeling uncomfortable or cold. All right. It's not a good sign if they're hugging themselves, especially if they're trying to tell you something very important. You want to watch to see if their hands are in sync with their words. Like right now, I'm trying to get my hands in sync with my words, right? When the hands tell the story along with the words, then it's more credible. The other thing, Garrett, is eye aversion. You have to be careful of culture and how shy the person is, but typically any change in eye aversion, you have to wonder, why is Janette or why is the other person changing their eye gaze? Now in Zoom, it's more difficult because you never know where you need to look, right? So the other thing is hiding hands. If someone's lying, they typically will try to hide their hands. when you see the hands, then the hands show the story, right? But if the hands are hidden, you have to wonder why. Why are the hands hidden? When police come across you and there's some kind of incident, what do they ask first? Hands up, right? You always want to see the hands. Another thing is stop and stutter, right? Stop and stutter. If you're asking me a simple question, hey, Janette, are you Asian? And I have to stop and stutter and pause, and you wonder why isn't she answering this simple question? Those are hotspots to lies. If they stop and stutter and they try to deviate from what you asked, which might be a simple yes or no question, to another avenue because they just don't want to address that question.
Interesting. Are you said, are you aversion? Is that referred to like me looking like places? Like
Yes.
random kind of thing?
Yes.
Oh,
Now
gotcha.
it's difficult on Zoom because we never know where to look. I see you on one side, but I know the camera's up here, right? And so you have to take that into account. Okay, is Janette just trying to look at where she needs to look? Or is this question sensitive to her that she's not able to ask? And if so, why? So you have to be a truth detective and figure out what is it about what just happened that she's having trouble answering.
For the stop and stirring, that's only an issue when they guess they divert the conversation to something else, right? Or because
Yes.
I stutter sometimes.
Yes. Well, we all do in normal dialogue. You know, there may be you go in one avenue and then you think of more information, and then but you have to be aware of what was just asked and why is this other person having difficulty answering this question. Does it make sense that he's stopping and stuttering or she's stopping and stuttering? If you ask me, Janette, did you take the money, right? And I'm saying, well, Garrett, you know, that's a funny question. And oh, by the way, I've got this other interview, and I'm not even answering the question. You're going to wonder, why is Janette not answering the question? Because if I didn't take the money, I would say, what money, Garrett? I didn't take any money. You know? So it all depends on the situation. Know your ABCs. Remember, we talked about ABCs. A is the antecedent. What just happened? Janette, did you take the money? Right? B is maybe I start blinking real fast. Then you've got to wonder, why is Janette blinking really fast and stopping and stuttering and not answering my yes or no question? It's a simple yes or no question, right? And then C, you're clustering the clues. Okay, she blinked, I averted, and she can't answer a yes or no question. And all of a sudden you see me hugging myself. So you're clustering the clues to discover more. You're moving yourself closer to the truth when you cluster the clues. So those are my ABCs.
Love those. Yeah, ever since you met, I've been trying to implement those. It's not that easy, but it's a lot of practice.
Yes, and you know from some of my training, Garrett, that you have attended, as soon as you hear the tips and strategies, you can apply them immediately. You can go out and practice on your sister or your family or your, significant other or your team, because the more you practice, the more we can reclaim our natural body language expertise. And that's what I said in my last training with you, that we are born body language experts. Before we could talk, we communicated to our caregivers exactly what we needed. Exactly what we needed. If we were hungry, we cried. If we were happy, we laughed, right? And we could read the facial expressions of our caregivers, and any stranger caregiver, we, as babies, weren't open to.
Mm.
We knew exactly how our mother smelled, looked, touched, and tasted.
To your point for that, how come why do you think we tend to, like, I guess, lose that natural ability of assessing body language? Because I mean, if we've done it for so long, shouldn't we just like?
Yes, we were experts from 0 to 2 years old. And then as soon as society started teaching us language, and we entered into school, and school, taught us our ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and how to write in paragraphs and debate orally, right? We tend to lose it. I gave an example. I took French a couple of years in high school. And first of all, learning something new in high school, a language, is too old. It should be really an elementary school, if you think about it, because our brains can absorb it more. So it's imperative that we start early. And once we are forced to learn the second language, which is our verbal language, body language is our first language. We're born into it. It's original to us. It's our relational language, and it's our natural language. English, or whatever verbal language you learned, is really your second language. So my company and what I'm passionate about is having people reclaim what was your birthright and what you knew all along, even before you were born. So you knew it then, you can reclaim it now.
Love that. So that's so true. It's like, oh wow, good point. I know you have a background in marketing research analysis with Ford. What did you learn from that experience?
I learned from my corporate experience, because I was a market researcher, to do research on the voice of the customer. So we would go out and we would listen to what real people said of how they used their cars and what their cars meant to them in their lives. So when you're interacting with other people, let's say you're in sales, you have to understand their underlying reasons for how they can use your product in their lives. So it was fun doing market research at Ford Motor Company, because a car is not a car. A car allows the family to go on vacations. A car allows somebody to earn money to go to work. Well, maybe not now because we're all at home. But you see, a car is more than just the physical thing. It represents something. So in body language, I can help business leaders, because if you're with a prospect and they're saying one thing, but their body is showing something else, when you can actively and accurately read the body, you can address their real issues, their underlying issues, better than they know, and then navigate that dialogue to how your products and services can help them.
Wow, that was pretty powerful. What are some techniques to connect with others non-verbally?
Well, smiling. So everybody nod your head, smile. And you want to show the wrinkles on your forehead, not forehead, but on the corners of your eyes. And Garrett, let's all smile big. So feel your cheeks, and you see the lines from your nostrils to your nose. You want those to be prominent puppet lines, I say. And Garrett, you have beautiful teeth, so smile more. Yeah, you have a beautiful smile. So they should see your teeth. Nod your head, tilt your head. Okay, Garrett, tilt your head. Come inward, depending, but don't invade in their space, right? And that can be cultural, and that can be gender specific and individual specific, right? So those tips, along with smile and just show friendship indicators, and also raise your eyebrows. Those are friendship indicators. If I saw Garrett on the street right? I would immediately do this and he would immediately do this because that's a universal, hey, you're my friend, I know you.
Oh, that's
signal.
interesting. I never thought of eyebrows as a way to connect with others.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, here's a tip. Here's a tip. Next time you see somebody
Mm-hmm.
and they're friends of yours, notice if they raise their eyebrows. You're going to raise your eyebrows because it's just a natural thing. But notice if they do. And if they don't, then you got to wonder, uh-oh.
Maybe we're not friends then.
What did I do wrong? So those are good tips to engage with other people in a nonverbal way.
Oh, that's a pretty simple. I like those.
You do it naturally. You do it so naturally.
Oh, really? I know. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
How have you seen human behavior change over the past like 20 years?
Yes. This is an excellent question, Garrett, because, and you've probably seen this, where you are at a restaurant, right? And you see the family next to your table, and the mom and the dad and the kid are maybe all on their electronic devices, but yet they're sitting right next to one another. So I think in the last few years, maybe the last 10 years, we've all been so focused on technology and we're all addicted to our phones and our devices that we're glued to our devices when we should be observing our immediate environment and the people in the vicinity. For those people who are going on interviews for important jobs, I recommend that you go into the lobby, you sign in, you tell the receptionist that you're here, and you put away your phone and you observe what's on the walls. What kind of trophies do they have? What kind of awards do they have on the walls? How is the receptionist dressed? When people are walking in and out and through the lobby, how are they dressed? What are they saying? You see what I mean? So you could be absorbing all of this information before you get a handshake with the interviewer. This is pre-pandemic. These things may change a little bit now as we're getting out of the pandemic, but put away the phone and really observe the other person are my tips and suggestions.
Have you seen as you're talking, have you seen the movie WALL-E? With
No.
the robots? So this was like back in like 2000, early 2000, I think late 2000 or something like that. And so there's about how Earth is pretty much destructive and like due to pollution. So there's it's about a robot. And so they one of them, well, they're in the ship with all the humans, and so there's two really big fat humans.
Yes.
On a gravitating wheelchair, if you want to call it, and they're FaceTime each other, but they're right next to each other, going the same way. Do you think our society is going in like that kind of direction, where it's you're having that next to person connection, but you're connecting through a screen of some sort, but you're right next to each other?
Yes, unfortunately, we are in that kind of environment now. And so just imagine, Garrett, if everybody is like that and disconnected, and you and I have body language skills, what an advantage we have over the people who are just, looking at their devices. That gives people who are trained and interested in body language a competitive advantage, because you then have enormous skills above and beyond your cohort who aren't paying attention. The number one tip is to pay attention and use all 5 of your senses to observe what's going on. So that makes my industry and my expertise even more valuable.
Yeah, that's so true. That's interesting. I mean, what since we're still in COVID, trying to sort of getting out of it. Oh, I mean, what are your takes on mental illness and all of that stuff's going on? I know all those numbers have really spiked. More people are feeling lonely, more people getting depressed and all that.
Yeah, those are real issues. And in some ways, we can use technology to connect. If that's what we have available, we can still connect when it's heart to heart and meaningful. And so when you use all 5 of your senses and body language, it helps us connect to one another, because then you can see these nonverbal cues of maybe discomfort and you can navigate your dialogue accordingly. Now, all of our pets, anybody who's a pet owner, they're loving the pandemic because their humans are home 24/7, right? And they're not short on attention because we're home. So the only one who are coming, benefiting from this is Zoom and our pets. So
Like that. How have you applied your investigative training of RED, the technique of investigative interviewing and advanced interrogative analysis and statement analysis, to more of a business and professional setting?
yes, Reed and Associates taught me, and being a psychologist, those skills taught me how to elicit information from people. And those are just technical terms for just rapport. You want to build rapport with somebody, and when that other person feels comfortable and at ease and not threatened, then they will open up and reveal more. So the Reed and Associates was more for investigative, detective, and law enforcement people, but all of those skills can be applied to you and me whenever we engage in somebody for business, and we're trying to really understand their internal motivations, their desires, wants, challenges, and roadblocks. And if they like us, they're going to reveal more about what's truly at the heart of their lives and their situations, so that Garrett and I and you as a business person can help overcome their barriers and transform them to where they want to go.
Mhm. Earlier you talked about a rapport. What are some good techniques for building a good foundation of rapport?
Okay, grab both of your ears, grab your ears. You got 2 of these, right?
Mhm.
2 of these, so you should be listening twice as much as talking. And you, my friend, are an excellent listener, and you have good size ears, good size ears. Smaller eared people, it's an indication that they aren't listening as much because they have the smaller ears. And in face reading, when your ear is slightly out, like Garrett's, he beats to his own drum, and he doesn't follow exactly the rules, and he's creative, and he likes to be independent like that. So the more the ears stick out, the more that they are independent in nature and will try new and creative things.
Oh, that's so interesting. So your ears would tell you some of
Yes,
your behaviors. Wow, that's very
yes, yes. Does that fit your,
yeah.
personality description?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
See, and Garrett's ears are closer. I mean, my ears are closer to my head than Garrett's. So
Mhm.
Garrett will even be further in going his own creative way than me. Like this ear is a little bit off compared to this ear. So this means that this is my left side, that I will deviate more from the norms on my left side, which is my right creative brain. So regarding creativity, I am more creative in listening and applying, my interests, because this corresponds to the opposite side hemisphere. Both of your ears kind of stick out, so you do it both on logical and creative side.
Oh, that's awesome. I like the
I've
ears.
been analyzing you.
So how is when the ear is more like, I guess, more closer to the brain or to
They're
the,
more mainstream. They're more mainstream when they're closer and parallel to the head. Now, both Garrett and I have, hardly visible eyelids. That means that Garrett and I tend to be more reserved and diplomatic about revealing ourselves. The people who have more exposed eyelids, they're blunter and more direct on what they see or don't like, or, whereas Garrett and I tend to be more diplomatic. And Garrett's even more diplomatic than me because more of my eyelid is showing than Garrett's.
oh, that's interesting. So like, how like Asians have like a more of a eyelid thing like that? So more, is it safe to say like more Asians are more like diplomatic in that regards because of that? Or I mean, that
Yes,
was that
yes,
behavior?
it can be cultural too. It can be
Oh,
cultural.
interesting.
And let me see your eyebrows, Garrett. Garrett has nice density in his eyebrows all the way across, which means and suggests that when he is on a project, he can maintain energy and process information all the way through the project. When you see somebody, notice, do they have more hair towards the start and then it fades? So if it starts, if it's dense here and then it fades to almost invisible, that means they're starters. They have the energy to start and then they fade. Okay. So
That's
I
interesting.
tend to start with gusto and then I kind of fade. I've been using eyebrow serum to make sure my hair doesn't fade away. So girls have tricks, but you naturally, Garrett,
Mhm.
you can follow through on a project even keel. And there's not too much of an arch on Garrett's eyebrows, which means he doesn't like chaos and roller coaster. You're pretty even keel. Does that sound like you?
That's pretty on point. I like that.
Ah!
Wow, that's pretty cool. So how is it like? I know some people have naturally thinner eyebrows. Does that mean like they have a harder time with projects where they kind of like lose their
Yes,
they're
yes.
not as focused on it?
The denser the eyebrow hairs means that they can process a lot of information. With my eyebrows, since I'm aging, I'm not as dense, and so just through the aging process, we might lose a little synapse in our brains.
Uh-huh.
But you, my friend, are young and you can handle it. So you might want to stay away from people who have really high arched eyebrows because that means they like drama and chaos and unpredictability. And you and I don't want that. We want stable people.
So we
You can
want like
tell
more of
just
a
from their
flat line.
eyebrows. Really, really high arched eyebrows.
Hmm.
So look at some pictures and today, make it a point to tell you what, today, just look at people's eyebrows when you interact with them or see them on the internet. And then you can say, oh, now I know what Janette's talking about. This person really has high or penciled in eyebrows. If they're penciled in, that means they're really not able to handle a lot of information because they're penciling it in.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm definitely gonna try that today. Oh, that's so
Uh-huh.
great. Wow, this is interesting. Wow, this is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And see, audience, we knew this innately. We knew all of this innately. When a baby is looking at a stranger who, happened to, let's say it was a grandpa that they've never met or an uncle that they've never met, they are cautious because they can see that this person is different, they smell different, and they're not sure how to read, the beard or the facial expressions, because they have more practice with mom or dad, especially their main caregiver. They know how that main caregiver smells, looks, tastes, and all the nuances of that main caregiver.
Interesting. What are some common objections that people say, but based on body language, it isn't a true objection?
Well, that's hard because the body will always say what the true objection is. What is more common, Garrett, is when people say, for instance, how are you today? I'm fine, but their body language is restricted, or they're fidgety. So their words may say, I'm fine, but their body language is showing something else. So when the words say one thing, but the body is showing something else, believe the body, because the body tells the truth. And that's more what happens when you ask somebody something and they say the socially appropriate statement, but you can assess if there's really more to what's being said that they're just not bringing about or revealing.
Gotcha, that's interesting. I like that. How have you used psychology to improve your marketing?
Everything is psychology. Everything is psychology. The main point is people don't buy based on price, and people don't buy based on features. People buy on emotions. How emotionally do I like the other person? How emotionally does that other person understand my needs, wants, desires, and goals, right? How emotionally does this person solve my problems and transform me from where I am now to where I need to go? For instance, if you came to me and you were interested in body language, I wouldn't sell you on my price. I would sell you on, Garrett, I can help you reclaim your natural fluency in body language. I can help you and empower you to spot the lies, get to the truth, and avoid costly mistakes, which means you can minimize risks in life and maximize wins. You see how all that language is psychology tapping into your emotional reasons of really understanding why you want to, master psychology. Master body language. And it's not about price. So once you understand the psychology of a person and your ideal dream client, my ideal dream client's name is Daphne. D for desires, A for aspirations, P for her problems, H for her hopes, N for her needs, E for her emotions, and Y, I forget Y is, or IE. I used to know Daphne. So you put a name to it, like Fred is fears, right? Emotions, aspirations, and desires. You name your ideal client because you understand the psychology of that person. Once you know the psychology of that person, then your copywriting talks to the psychology and the language of that person. Everything is psychology in marketing, and everything is psychology when you're interacting with somebody else. If, in any interaction, it's all psychology. Garrett, you should have taken more psychology classes.
I know. Actually, I did take a few classes, but it wasn't like anything in depth like this. this was like so much more practical than knowing all the different theories. It's cool knowing all the theories, but no one's gonna ask you, hey, do you remember what Aversion said about blah blah blah?
You make a good point, Garrett, because when somebody takes accurate body language training, like you were in my last Edutainment 2020 class, didn't you feel like you could apply those skills immediately to the next person that you meet? And I used cute little funny dog videos to show how easy it is to see the distress signals in the dogs when they made a mess, and dad came home and said, "Who made this mess?" And there's multiple dogs, but you can tell who the guilty one is. So you can apply those same skills immediately, and it's not theory, it's immediate to your next interaction. That's the power of body language.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, going to your 1 hour class was more helpful than semesters in psychology at school. Is like, I'm gonna read this textbook, take a quiz on it, and then forget it. Like, why am I taking this? I mean, granted, I would take the little lessons, but it's like, I'm going all those hours just to get like a little lesson when I could just done like something with you and then like get everything that I needed for practical reasons that's applicable in any part of my life.
Yeah, and I do it in funny videos. And in the audience, I made you pretend, I made you do the thing that the subject was doing so that you could feel how John Bonet's brother was. You know, John Bonet's brother being interviewed by Dr. Phil, he was fiddling around with his fingers. Okay, Garrett, fiddle around with your fingers, right? Like what he was doing. So when you do what the other person is doing, you kind of feel the emotions that he's feeling. Now, when you're interacting with a prospect and you're trying to get that prospect to buy into what you're selling, notice the distress signals, but do not imitate them. Do not imitate them, because then that person will see you doing distress signals. You always want to be confident, calm, and in control. So you want to notice if that other person is showing distress signals, and you only want to mirror and match if they're doing neutral signals or power signals. If they're doing distress signals, you've got to figure out, how can I get Janette to uncross her arms? You can say, "Hey, Janette, I've got a document here. Take a look at this. Look at paragraph 2. Let's say we were face to face and across, or, you know, in an L shape. I've got to lean in, or hand me a pen so I uncross my arms." See? So thank you for the compliment about 1 hour of accurate body language is better than a semester in class. Truly, you can take these skills immediately and apply them.
One thing too is doing your being your workshop for an hour was so fun too, because we got to actually like do things. You know, in class you're just like sitting there. Okay.
It's interactive. It's interactive, and that's how we learn. That's why it's important, Garrett, to use all 5 of our senses, all 5, because the more senses that we are using to absorb the information, the more you'll remember it. And that's why I have you acting out what John Bonet's brother is doing, so that you get a sense, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel powerful, does it? No. And so it just, and it helps practice when your body feels what it feels like, then you can easily see it in the person across from you if they're doing it. You know, okay, for instance, hug yourself real tight, okay? That feels reassuring, and that feels pacifying, and that feels closed off. So if your prospect is doing that, invite them up and take them for a walk. And as you're walking, you're matching and mirroring their pace and their speed, so that psychologically they will feel aligned with you without you saying a word. You've got to break them out of their closed off stance.
Ooh, like that.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite psychology book?
Anything related to detecting deception. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned in my answer the DSM-5, because when you understand abnormal psychology and you know the traits of, let's say, narcissistic personality disorder or substance dependent personality, you know, substance dependency, then then you understand their perspective. And we can't assume, like for a person who meets criteria for antisocial personality disorder, we can't interpret that they will ever feel remorse or a conscience or feel sorry or have compassion, because it's not in their brain structure to feel these things. So when we know how they operate, and it's a very deceptive, manipulative operation, we can avoid them like a plague to begin with. And if they say anything, you're going to know that it's pretty much a lie. And they can be very superficially charming about that. So my answer to what's my best psychology book, it's the DSM-5. When you know the clinical criteria of borderline personality disorder or substance dependent, type people, or a narcissistic personality disorder, then you can avoid them early. But if you have to deal with them, know that deception is part of their character trait. And fMRI scans of their brains show that their brains, oxygen in their brains go to different areas or are depleted, and the compared to non criteria people, meaning normal population people. Their brains are structurally and functionally different. And Garrett, they get rewarded when they dupe us. They get reward in their reward system lights up with extra dopamine when they know you can be conned, and when they know that they easily can manipulate people to do their bidding. So that's why it's very important to understand these character traits of personality disordered people, because then you can understand their behaviors better and why they're doing it and why they don't feel remorse or a conscience or empathy, because they can't. They literally can't.
For those who don't know the DSM-5, it's literally just like a dictionary for mental health. So it has literally the diagnosis and then about it, just like a dictionary. And in nursing school, they always talk about the DSM-5. But now it's like, man, maybe I should buy a DSM-5.
Right.
I feel like last year,
Right.
it's like, oh, dude, that's so true. It's like when you understand what people are have issues with, it's like makes your understanding of how to deal with others more effective.
Yes, and they're very predatory. They hook you in with promises and seduction and alluring to whatever you're motivated to. And then once you find out that you're sucked in, it's too late. It's too late. You're entangled. So the better that you can identify these issues early on, then you won't get entrapped by the chaos and the destruction. So that's another good reason to understand the DSM-5 and body language.
Man, that's a great combo right there. And last question, where can our viewers learn more about what you do and what you offer?
Connect with me on LinkedIn, Janette Ghedotte. And also, if you want to send me an email, accurate body language at gmail.com. And thank you, Garrett, for having me on the show. It was my pleasure.
I definitely had fun. Thank you so much for your time. I'm definitely going to have to go over this again and look at it.
Thank you.
Do you have any workshops coming up soon for the audience to?
Oh, yes. I have a brand clarity and body language boot camp coming up. I'm launching it in first quarter, and then I'm preparing an online 6-week and 12-week program. But if you connect with me on accurateBodyLanguage@gmail.com, then we can have a one-on-one talk, and I can really understand your interests and what your needs are and what would you like to learn about body language. Garrett, you're a natural, so have fun practicing your body language skills.
I'm definitely gonna show up, so I would love to learn more, and I definitely had some fun. Again, thank you, Janette. I've had such an awesome time, and I hope you guys, viewers, have too. Be safe, hey, safe and healthy, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.